Live, but now I got to go click this thing so I can go live on Instagram. But is it working? Is it going to work? Oh, there it is. It's working. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Welcome. And in case you couldn't tell, this is not my house. My house is almost as nice as this, but I just don't have such a great setting. But anyway, welcome. For those who don't know me, I am Bill Patton, and I am coaching at Monte Vista High School, and I also teach tennis at Cuyamaca College as kind of a private lesson, private program thing there. So I have a couple different locations. If you happen to be in San Diego area, look me up and we'll make something happen. Anyway, so today I'm going to be talking. This is the launch of the book Net Results, and how to master your game in the front court for more wins. Because when you add new elements to your game of different ways that you can attack your opponent, then you have more options to move forward and win, right? So today we're going to talk about how to overcome the barrier of fear in your game. In fact, I think I'm going to try to turn this light down a little bit. Where is that? We're going to talk about, it's a little bit better. All right. We're going to talk about time and space and anxiety. And there's also kind of another interesting aspect that I think gets overlooked when it comes to playing the net. And we're going to talk about how to deal with that. All right. So, one of the interesting things about playing the net is that it fits very nicely in the pressure, time, and space strategy. And so the next project I'll be working on is Tennis Strategy 201. So Tennis Strategy 101 came out, and then I was in the midst of working on Tennis Strategy 201, and I started looking at the net play portion of that, and I was like, wait a minute, this is so deep, it should be its own book. So in the Star Wars universe of the books that I write, right? So this one kind of got inserted into something. So it's like one of those little extra movies that get made about things that happen in between time and Star Wars. So anyway, it's probably a bad analogy. But anyway, so pressuring time and space basically means taking time away from your opponent. Sometimes it means giving more time than they want, but I don't want to digress too deeply, right? So, the premise is you play closer forward, the ball, that you hit comes back to them faster. They have to react more quickly than they want to. And then you put them under pressure and they miss. So there's just one problem. You're also taking time away from yourself. So you have to get comfortable with that. And now let's take a little deeper dive into the time and space on a tennis court. So if you're at the baseline and you hit a ball and then the opponent hits it back, by the time it gets to your racket, 2 shots like so, that's a couple of seconds, right? I don't know the exact time on that. I'm sure it varies widely based on the miles per hour, right? So slower shots back and forth are going to take more than 2 seconds to come back, right? Faster could be under 2 seconds. But now, tennis court's 78 feet long. Let's say you're both playing 3 feet behind the baseline. That's 84 feet. Okay. Then you go to the net, and let's say you're 9 feet behind the net, which is, the ideal volleying position, right? That's 48 feet instead of 84 feet, right? So now that is a little more than half. It's a little bit more than half, but there's a problem in that because the ball hasn't hit the ground, it's not going to slow down as much. Let's go back to the baseline. All right. So I remember this from John Yandell, did a great thing where he was measuring ball speeds using super slow motion analysis back when 240 frames per second was like a miracle. But now pretty much everybody's got that on their phone. You easily can do 120 feet per second, which is pretty good slow-mo. Anyway, so he discovered that like when Pete Sampras hits 120 mile an hour serve, hit it, and then before the ball has hit the ground, it slows down to 85 miles an hour. Then the friction of the ground makes it slow down by another 20 miles an hour. So it has an exit speed of 65 miles an hour. And then by the time it got to the returner, it was going somewhere around 45 to 50 miles an hour. That's a really dramatic loss of speed, largely caused by the fuzz on the ball, right? So the fuzz of the ball has this air pressure problem, and then the friction of the fuzz with the ground, okay? And then the continuing air pressure issue. So the ball slows down. It loses, more than half of its speed from baseline to baseline. Now, take a very hard hit, say 70 mile an hour ground stroke, right? And then it comes and hits the ground, and then by the time it gets to you on the other side, it could be going, depending on how much spin is on it, what kind of spin, it might be going 20 miles an hour. If it's like a firmly hit slice shot, or it could be 30, 35 miles an hour if it has exactly the matching amount of top spin. So baseline, you're gonna have this almost 2 full seconds, right? Because the ball slows down so much. But now you go to the net and you're taking the ball out of the air, right? So it hasn't bounced. So you're not losing that 20 miles an hour. So what it does, it really puts a premium on seeing the ball really well and getting used to greater ball speeds, right? Which makes people feel anxious because things that are coming faster, obviously will make you feel more anxious. So, one thing I was talking with my high school guys about yesterday, because we had a rainy day, so we were kind of talking about some philosophy and whatnot. But part of the mental game of tennis is when you can reframe things in your mind, right? So, I was asking how many of the guys are excited for the upcoming season, because we just had one of our first practices and we had some kids show up for the first time. So how excited are you? And they were, a lot of them said they were very excited. And then one kid said, oh, I'm nervous. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I'm glad you said that because it brings up a good teachable moment. All right. So it's reframing nervousness to excitement that helps with that. So instead of going to the net and saying, oh, I feel nervous when I'm at the net, if you start to reframe that and say, okay, I feel excited, because the net is really a great place for the adrenaline junkie. There's a lot more excitement, a lot more thrill as you go closer, and you need to be more alert, and you're going to have to make more dramatic, quick movements, all that stuff. I mean, this is probably the reason why I loved playing at the net much more than I did at the baseline myself, because I like that excitement. So, very important to reframe that. That's a good first step. And then another thing that you can do is you can kind of work on your breathing. Start to breathe a little bit more to bring your anxiety level down in general. Okay. But then also come at it mentally with a high level of alertness. So being very alert in your mind, but being very calm in your body. And that is provably a dichotomy that can happen. So one of the most cutting edge sports psychology studies that was ever done was by Rainer Martins at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, which is Champaign-Urbana. Yeah, Champaign-Urbana, which is a top-notch physical education school. So Human Kinetics publishers come from that university. Anyway, so he was the first one who split out the difference between your cognitive anxiety and your somatic anxiety. So cognitive meaning the worry in your mind, the lack of confidence in your mind, and then the physical anxiety being how palpably nervous do you feel? Do you have sweaty palms? Are you shaking? Do you feel tight? Right. So, and then, being too loose is also a problem. So what he found was that you want a minimum amount of worry, you want a maximum amount of clarity, you want a maximum amount of confidence, and you will perform better. But as your physical anxiety reaches a peak, because you have to be edgy enough to be able to go and move quickly, but not so tight that you're going to miss. And you can't be, lackadaisical, because then you're probably going to make errors just from being too loosey-goosey, right? So you have to find that midpoint, and it's kind of individualized. I've seen some players who just seem just a little tighter than others, and they make it work for them, and then others a little looser. But you always kind of want to keep them going towards the middle. Sometimes my players who are get too loose, sometimes they're too tight. So finding that midpoint is going to be really important. Which then leads to another important thing that I don't know that people talk about this much, but it's in the book, and it gets explained. But there was some research on heart rate that found that when you have a challenging point at the baseline, that after that, what you're going to find is a lot of heart rates that are ending in the 160 to 180 beats a minute for a challenging point at the baseline. But a challenging point at the net can lead to 180 to 200 beats a minute. And so for some people, it's taking them to their maximum heart rate. And that can be scary, right? So if putting all that exertion in and getting to your maximum heart rate and then losing that point, it can feel devastating. It sort of ramps up the emotional cost, mental, emotional, physical cost of a point when you expend all that energy and then you don't win. Because it feels like the point counted for more, right? But if you won the point and the next point you double fault, it's still the same and you didn't expend any energy, right? Or if you lost the point and they double fault, you're even. So on the other hand, when you play one of those really intense points and you win it, it can be a real spike in excitement and thrill. And, a lot of times that's when you're getting crowds that get excited about the match, because, it just is a lot more sort of shocking and quick and dramatic when you play at the net. So which brings up, the need to train for that. So, what you want to do if you're going to be playing at the net, you've got to be more anaerobically trained. You've got to be ready for, good bursts of speed where you can be very intense, for, 4, 5, even 10 seconds of play up at the net. If you hit a volley and then you have to move back and hit an overhead, and then you have to come back up to close out a volley, that can be, 6 seconds of really intense stuff. And then, sometimes you get these points where you have to hit 3 or 4 volleys and then maybe an overhead at the end. it's not common, but it can happen, and you have to be ready for it, and you have to be able to recover from it. So one thing that I see as a mistake that a lot of coaches of teams make is that they spend too much time doing aerobic training. So they're doing, too much jogging, too much of the distance running, and not enough, drills on the court with change of direction. And I have one drill that I love that's a regular staple, and it's called the spider run, where you start in the middle of the back of the baseline and you run to the corner of each. You run to each place where lines intersect in the big rectangle. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back. And so you get 10 changes of direction in that. Yep. And that's really good, because changing direction is a really important part of training the anaerobic system. And one thing that I'll also do with my players is I will have them start at the service line and go and touch the net post, and then come back and then touch the net at where the net strap intersects the net, and come back and go back like that, so that they're learning to move diagonally forward to go get those shots. So, so a lot of it has to do with, first, training yourself to love the excitement of being at the net. Also, training yourself to be able to handle an intense point and being okay with your heart rate spiking. And to realize that and go, okay, I guess I'm going to need to take the full 20 seconds, 25 seconds to recover, especially before serving again, right? Let that heart rate come down. And then, the idea that you're going to have to be able to move in different directions, that you're going to have to get used to, the ball coming faster and having less time, being more alert, and really enjoying it, becoming more of an adrenaline junkie up there, really having fun with it, because, playing the net is more exciting. It is way more fun. And, and then also to realize that you need to, your body needs to, be at a peak tension level, right? Not too tense, not too loose. And then you want your mind to be as clear as possible. You want to be as clear-minded as you can. You want to have as much confidence as possible. And, one thing that I do there, and it kind of sounds like nonsense. So, but, I use it anyway, is I will say to myself that I'm going to come to the net 100 times. And if this guy can pass me 51 times, he will win. Really, though, I think I really definitely want to have a winning percentage over 60%. And that's where the data comes in. So the final thing to think about is that when everything else is even, if you're coming to the net to play the points, you can't expect to win 60% of the points. That's below average. And if you're having a particularly good day at the net, you might be winning 70 to 75% of the points. But, is there a time when you have a play and you have a chance to win 70% of the points, and then you're going to choose not to do it? I don't think that's a good choice. So, give it a try. Go out, go play the net more. And final quote, I'll leave you with this. So there's a story about Tommy Haas, and he went to Nick Bollettieri, and he's like, Nick, how much should I play the net? And Nick said, all the time. And then you'll get your answer. Right. So, if you're going in too much, you will become a parent because you're winning under 50% of the points. On the other hand, if you're totally overmatched on the day and staying back is having you only win a third of the points, might as well go forward and give yourself a better chance. Anyway, reached the 20-minute mark. Hope you enjoy that. Remember, I would love for you to go on Amazon on Sunday. Sunday is the day. Book launch Sunday. Please order a copy of Net Results. And if you are interested in coming to San Diego, I'm here, and it's a great place to come for vacation once the rains stop, of course. And I will work with you one-on-one. All right. Thanks for watching.